formatting, and it's very similar to the printf function C and C++. It looks like this. Now, actually that entire printf statement that you see there should be enclosed in curly brackets, but we'll just pretend that that is for the moment. I don't really want to go into the ins and outs of printf because it would take quite a long time to explain, probably more than that particular topic warrants at the moment. Suffices to say that there's plenty of documentation about it in the manual pages and also on the internet if you look hard enough. What I will say is that it is possible in this way to specify exactly how many characters wide the printing of each field should be. So here are $6 both being printed out, and that's the %-12s and the %-20s, which specifies that $1 will be printed out in a width of exactly 12 characters. So no matter how many characters there are in each $1, it will be printed out and padded on the right hand side with spaces to a width of 12 characters. And $6 will be printed out in a width of 20 characters. So using this technique, it's actually possible to get output beautifully aligned under headings and so forth. Let me show you what I mean. I'll just modify that script I just showed you. So here it is, slightly rewritten, that awk script that I showed you just a moment ago. I've put in the %-12s and %-20s, so $1 will be printed in a width of 12 and $6 will be printed in a width of 20. Now, for that to be meaningful, I've actually created little headings here, username and directory. Notice that username is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 characters wide, and directory is 20 characters wide if you go all the way to there. And because these two lines of code have been created inside the begin set of statement block, they will be printed out once and once only at the beginning of the program, whereas this line here will be printed out once for each line of input. So let's see that in action. We'll run this script % and we'll feed it one parameter, which is etc password, and we better pipe the results to more so we can see the heading. And there you go, username and directory, and it's all nicely formatted as you can see. That's the way you achieve that sort of output using awk. Also note that using printf you actually have to specify that you want to have a new line at the end of the output if you do. And new lines are specified just as they are in C and C++ using the \n. If you want a new line followed by a blank line, then obviously put 2 \n's. Okay, so that's really all I want to go into on awk. You can actually buy entire books on awk, so there's no end of learning that you can do just on that program. It's a very powerful, as you can see, text processing language. But I've shown you the basics that you need to get started with simple shell programming. And that actually brings us to the end of the chapter on filters, so let's now have a look at some exercises involving those. And so here are the exercises for chapter 7 on filters. The first is to give you a bit of practice using grep and also practice using regular expressions. I've created a file on the CD called grep_test, and I'd like you to use grep to find the lines in that file that contain the following patterns. I'd like you to find all lines that begin with a T. Then I'd like you to find all blank lines. Then I'd like you to find lines that have 2 or more A's anywhere in them, and I mean consecutive A's. Lines that have a 2-digit number, 2 or more digit number, so it could be 2 or 3 or 10-digit number. Now this is a little bit of a tricky one. You might need to use extended regular expressions for this. Lines that have the pattern open square bracket x, y in them, but I don't just want to see x, y, I want to see x and y being actual numbers. So that might be 6, 7 or 38, 126 or something like that, enclosed in square brackets. So there's a little challenging one for you. Okay, exercise 2. Write a script that produces the following output. It's really just the output from the Who program with the terminal removed. So see if you can come up with that. Obviously the data that you're processing should come from the Who program, and I'd also like to see the output sorted alphabetically by username, which is not something I've done in the little sample output that you can see there, but I would like to be sorted alphabetically. Finally, let's modify the course project. There's a bit of a a gaping hole in our course project at the moment, in that when we print out the names.dat at the moment, it's just a raw dump of what's in the file. But what I'd like to see is have it printed out neatly. In other words, get rid of the colons that separate one field from the next, and I'd like them printed out in surname order, and clearly a nice heading would be appropriate as well. So you're probably going to need to use awk to do that. And you may also, if you want to do that sorting thing using the filter called sort, you might like to check the manual page for sort to learn how to sort by a field other than the start field. In other words, we're going to have, I believe in our names.dat we've got the first name first and then the surname second, and we actually want to sort on the surname, so we actually have to sort by the second field in the file. Now it's possible to do that using the sort program, and you'll need to check the manual page to work out how to do that. If you can't get that bit, don't worry, just make sure that it looks quite neat on the screen when you dump the output. Okay, good luck. Here are the solutions to the exercises from Chapter 7. We'll start by looking at that grep test program. Let's have a look at that. I've actually created one file called grepscript that provides the solutions to all of those exercises, and it's self-commenting. In other words, it puts out a little echo line there just before it shows you what it's about to print. So let's see lines that start with a T. Now you can see that that's just using, it's a very simple one, just use the little caret symbol to denote the beginning of the line, and then a capital T there. Blank lines, as we saw before, are a caret followed by a $sign. Probably want to enclose those in single quotes just to make sure that the shell doesn't interfere with that. Lines that have 2 or more A's anywhere in them, that's actually very simple, just double A. Now, lines that have a 2 or more digit number in them. Well, this is actually not that hard. There's 2 ways of doing it. One is you can simply say a pair of square brackets enclosing a digit followed by another pair of square brackets enclosing a digit. So that will match one character and that will match another character, and each of those 2 characters will be a digit, so it'll match 2 digits. Or there's another way of doing it, and this uses extended regular expressions. You can say a digit please, and then you can use the curly brackets. Now I didn't show you this, but it's in the manual page. You can say I want 2 or more, that's what the comma means, 2 or more of whatever I just specified. So I'd be saying in this case 2 or more digits from the file. So I need the -e option for extended regular expressions. I've commented that out because I don't want to see the output twice. And finally, lines that have the pattern x, y in them, where x and y is a number. Now I do need the extended regular expressions here, so I put that in there. Now the first thing I want to match is the actual bracket itself, the square bracket. Now the square bracket is a special character for regular expressions, so I need to put a backslash in front of it to make sure that it is no longer special. So we put / square bracket. Now this time we actually do want to see a 1 or more digits, so there's 1 digit, and I'll put a little plus sign which means 1 or more. So 1 or more digits followed by a comma, followed by 1 or more digits, followed by a closing square bracket, and again I need to put the / in front to make sure that the closing square bracket character is not treated as special. So let's run this to see if it works. And I might need to pipe that to more. So here we are, lines that start with a T, and as you can see there were a few of them, 4 of them in fact, blank lines, and there were a few of those lines that have 2 or more A's anywhere in them, and there's only 1 of those lines. Lines that have a 2 or more digit number in them, and there were 4 of those, line 10, 11, and vector 3 and vector 4. And lines that have the pattern XY in them, and there were 2 of those. You obviously got to make sure that this line here with the 345 in it doesn't come out here at the end. Anyway, there's a copy of my solution on the CD, so you can verify for yourself that it is in fact working. Let's move on to the next solution. My solution is in a file called format who, and of course we just take the who program, pipe it to sort. We want the output sorted, and then we pipe the results to awk for nice printing. Now awk's going to print it out in the following way using printf. We're going to use the %-15s. Now that %s there corresponds to $1. So $1, which is the username, will be printed out in a field width of 15, followed by the second one, which will be the month. Now that's always going to be printed out in exactly 3 characters, so I don't really need to specify how wide that should be, followed by a space, and then at least 2 characters wide should be the next field, which is the day of the month, followed by a space, followed by the time. So that's 3, 4 and 5, parameters 3, 4 and 5 there. So let's see if that works. Run that %, and as you can see, that is indeed working. So finally, let's have a look at the course project. Okay, so here's the not much has actually changed in here. Should be only the part where we display out the text, which is case 2, I believe. So yes, there it is, case 2, show what's currently in the file. Now all of that, as you can see, from there to there is all enclosed in round brackets as it was before, and the entire output is set to more, just in case there are quite a lot of data in the file, so it'll come out one page at a time. So we put out a little heading here. Here are the current contacts in the database, and then obviously a couple of nice lines of heading output to show what the columns are all going to look like. And then we're going to display the line in its correct formatting. We're going to use the -f:, which is here, to specify that the fields in the file are separated from each other by the colon character. And we do exactly the same thing with the sort option, except we don't use the -F option. Now we use the -T option for sort. It's slightly different. And the +1 means we want to sort by the second field. If we actually said, if we left out that +1 option, it would sort by the first field, or if we put a +0, it would sort by the first field. But the fact that we put a +1, it means it's actually going to sort by the second field. Did you manage to extract that information usefully from the sort program manual page? Okay, so we end up with a sorted set of information being passed into awk, and awk prints it out using 14 characters, then 16 characters, then 20 characters, then 15, then 6, and then 5, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different parameters. So we're just using that printf statement again. So as you can see, this sort of column output is very easily done using printf, but that assumes that you actually understand how to use the printf, so I would read up on it. If I were you, it is very useful, and I suppose we should see what that looks like. So we'll run this program now, and we'll view the records, and here are the current contacts in the database, and now you can see the nice heading here, and you can see that everything is beautifully aligned in columns for each one. But let's check, is it sorted by surname, A, D, W, X, Z? Yes, it does appear to be sorted by surname. All the other columns do not appear to be sorted by those. So it looks like it's working, so let's press enter. So how did you go? I hope you got through that. I know that I'm setting deliberately difficult questions, but you can do them in stages, because I figure that if you can get through the exercises that I set, then you've really mastered the topic that we've been discussing.